Hello everyone, welcome to Winthrop in the World. I'm Paul Baskin, and with us today is Tom Derderian. Tom is a longtime resident of Winthrop, I take it, yes?
Since 1987.
Since 1987, and Tom is the tree warden in town. So for those of you who didn't know, we actually have a tree warden. Tom, I should mention, is also on the Climate Commission too. There's a Climate Advisory Commission. Tom serves as the town manager's representative on the Climate Commission. But as far as a tree warden, what's the origin of the tree warden? What does the job do? Why do we have one?
Well, the tree warden is a little different than a town employee, and I'm not a full-time employee of the town, maybe not even an employee, because the tree warden is separate from the DPW, separate from the town manager, because the decision to remove a tree or to keep a tree is separate from DPW needs. So it's my job as tree warden to decide that a tree is a danger and should be immediately removed.
Okay.
So that's the one giant power I have, and responsibility.
Right.
You know, public safety. If this tree is damaged and there's a target, either property or people, that tree has got to go, and I say so, and it's removed by the DPW right away.
I see. Even on private property?
If it poses a public danger, yes.
Right. Okay. And well, just some basics. Roughly how many trees do you think there are in Winthrop, and how many a year get taken out?
There are dozens of trees that pose a danger, maybe more than, several dozen each year. We have an aging stock of trees. We have a lot of old Norway maples.
Okay.
That somebody thought was a good idea a long time ago to replace the Dutch elms.
Right.
So Dutch elms got the Dutch elm disease.
Right.
So replace them with these Norway maples that are very tough trees. However, they push up the sidewalk because they have surface roots. Right. They send their helicopter seeds all over the place. Right. They're now declared an invasive species and can't be sold in Massachusetts.
I see.
And they're old. So they're going to go one by one, gradually. But when a tree dies, it doesn't die like we do. It can take 30 years to die.
Right.
You know, it gets a little less, a little less, a little less. So when do you remove the tree?
Right.
It's still got a lot of green, a lot of life, but it's declining.
Right.
So it's not catastrophic.
So what is the answer to that question? If I have a tree on my property and it's sort of in the early stage of that 30 or whatever number of year time period you're talking about, do you come in and is there a discussion with the
Well, if you have a tree that's this fat, now you can't plant another tree like that. That's really nearly impossible.
Right.
So if you see that you have old trees, maybe you plant some small ones that will eventually replace that tree.
Right.
So here's a tree that's going to grow and be a bigger tree in 10, 20, 30, 50 years, 100 years, and the old tree is going to decline.
Right.
That's the progression in a forest.
Right.
You have the big old trees, you have young ones, big one falls down, the young ones grow up into that space where they get the light.
So most trees in Winthrop, are they on people's property, sort of around their house, behind their house, or I mean, I see them largely along roads, sort of in the middle of sidewalks, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, going back into the past of horse and buggy, and dirt roads, which were dusty in the summer, mud in the winter, but rain would soak through those dirt roads, and the trees lining the roads would keep down the dust and sort of disperse the rain during thunderstorms.
Right.
And so they grew along the sides of the roads.
Right.
Now we pave the road.
Right.
We sprinkle salt on the road, and we have cars whipping up and down the roads. So if there's a street tree between the curb and the sidewalk, it's going to get hit by a car in its
or truck,
50
maybe, or truck maybe.
Year,
is that,
yeah, during its long life.
Yeah.
I would like to put the trees on people's lawns, not in the sidewalk anymore.
Right.
As much as we can do that, and we can move the trees from that difficult place. I mean, to ask a tree to grow surrounded by by asphalt on one side and concrete on the other side. If there doesn't happen to be a big lawn near it, or a downhill where rain can sweep down, you're asking the tree to do something that the tree is not going to be good at doing.
Right.
So planting trees away from the roads would be a better way to go for our future.
Right. This sounds like a big discussion to have. Because people obviously take pride in their lawns, their houses, their appearance, and where things are. What's that sort of daily conversation like for you going around town doing that? Is it typically amicable, or does it somehow get into something other than that sometimes?
There's a whole range of things. Some years ago, while I was on the tree committee, someone came to us and wanted a tree removed because it posed a danger. Oh, what was the danger? Well, at night, the tree cast shade from the street light, and so that would make it an area for crimes.
Right, right.
The person really wanted the tree removed for a view. Recently, someone wanted a public tree, public property, removed because it shaded their house, and they wanted to get solar panels.
Right.
Now, I have complete sympathy with the solar panels, but how do you trade this? You want to get rid of the tree?
Right.
That it is a very old tree.
Right.
In favor of lowering someone's electric bill.
Right.
There's constantly those kind of problems.
Right. And we've heard in other towns, especially beach towns on the coast, where people wipe out rows of trees in order to create views. I don't imagine we have quite that situation here in Winthrop. No?
I haven't. Well, I've seen a little bit of public trees being pruned improperly by homeowners for the sake of their view. Yes.
Right. So, I mean, it sounds like you almost need a degree in mediation and negotiation in order to do the job that you do. Or is it more that you just simply come in and you are able to say this has to happen, and short of an agreement, you're talking about court, or what? Like, what is? How does it work? Like, what's it look like on a regular basis?
There are arborists who are certified to ascertain the commercial worth of a tree. We had some in town just cut down because the siding contractor in a building found them inconvenient. They're just trees, just cut them down.
Right.
Well, when we contacted the arborist who would estimate the value, it was huge.
The value of the tree to?
The value of the tree, the cost of replacing the tree. I mean, a tree is, you can't just put a big tree in place. It has to be so you can transport it in a truck and plant it. And if you remove a tree that's 30 years old, you can't replace it with one that's 10 years old. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could go to court with people and make them pay.
Does this happen a lot?
And in other municipalities, they have developed a rule that if a tree is to be removed for some reason other than its health, that there is a permit that has to be applied for, and that permit has to be paid for by paying $100, $200 per caliper inch of the tree removed.
Okay.
So if you remove a tree that's big and old, you've got to replace that not with one little skinny tree, but with 10 or 15 trees.
Yeah. Yeah, you speak of value too, and I'm wondering the value of a tree, there's a value of a tree I would imagine to the person whose property it's sitting on. Then there's a value of the tree maybe to the whole community. Is that something that you look at and you can even calculate? Like, what's the value of a tree to somebody who doesn't live there but sees it every day down the street, or it cools their neighborhood a little bit more or something? Is there a sort of a science to calculating the value of a tree to the overall community?
There probably is. I am not versed in that calculation, but certainly a tree has a value beyond its immediate place.
Right.
This is the link to my position on the Climate Commission, that trees in Winthrop will mitigate the wind
Right.
in the winter.
Right.
The trees in the summer cast shade on asphalt, so the town isn't as hot.
Right.
There's great documentation that neighborhoods with fewer trees are hotter in the summer.
Right.
More trees, more shade. The
Right.
trees are taking up water and evaporating the water, so that's a cooling effect.
Right. Right. Sure.
What's the value of that? It would be complicated and
Right.
controversial to calculate. Somebody saves some money on air conditioning because there are trees in the summer.
Right. Right.
A little bit on heating, and as well as the aesthetic, as well as also trees have a public safety factor in that they calm traffic. People don't drive as fast on tree-lined streets.
Oh, okay.
So that's another factor,
I see.
which has a value.
Okay.
How do you calculate that?
Right. Right. So I asked you at the beginning how many trees in Winthrop. Maybe that's not a fair question, but can you even maybe estimate roughly how many we have, and how many should we have by any good measure?
There are programs, applications, where trees are cataloged, put into the app, and the tree warden or DPW can monitor the health of the trees,
Right.
the age of the trees,
Right.
and seeing all this in one place, and it can be public.
Right.
Winthrop investigated that.
Okay.
We even had an initial survey done,
Right.
but we can't afford that program.
I see.
To maintain it is expensive,
Right.
and ultimately it comes down to what was it? William McKinley's handler said in 1896.
McKinley's the president who's come up in the news recently.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mark Hanna said there's two things in politics.
Mark Hanna was his political strategist, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna steal his quotation.
Okay.
There's two things when you want trees in a community.
Right.
The first one is money,
Right.
and the second one, I can't remember.
Right. You mean his point being that it's always money.
It's all-
much
yeah.
always money comes
Right.
down to it.
So if the town had more money, we would have a tree department.
Yeah.
We would have full-time people.
Right.
We would have all the equipment necessary.
Right.
Right now, if we want to take down a tree, we have to go outside of town and hire someone to come in and do that.
I see.
We don't have the people.
So is there an argument that could be made that we could be having a more cost-effective approach to our trees by spending more up front to actually take care of them, count them?
That goes back to that question: where's the value? What value does the town get from the trees? How do you translate the aesthetics and those other things I mentioned, climate, safety, to money? How much money are all the trees in Winthrop worth?
Because when you listen to people in town, they seem to really care about the trees. I mean, it's one of the things that I think you almost get agreement across political divides that people like trees. They appreciate them, they like them, but somehow that's not translating, I guess I gather, into policy somehow?
Well, into money.
Into money. Well, into money.
Yeah, ask people do you like trees? Oh yeah. And do they enhance property values? Yes. Well, how much do they enhance property values?
Right.
That's harder to figure.
Right. Right.
So, how much more do you want to pay in your property tax in order to have more trees in town?
Right. Right.
These are tricky questions.
Right. So, Tom, I gather, again, Tom is the tree warden in the town of Winthrop, and I gather you've put forth a proposal to the town council that would change some of the rules regarding trees. It gets into you measure trees by giving them a hug around the midsection or something to that effect. Or maybe you can explain maybe to people what it is that you're asking the town council to do.
Yeah, the tree lingo is height at breast height.
Height at breast height. Okay. I mean diameter at breast height. I think you're saying.
Well,
no.
Yeah, we say diameter at breast height.
Right.
You just measure with a tape measure.
With a tape measure, yeah.
At this height because that's how tall people are.
Right.
And trees at the base flare.
Yeah.
So that's not accurate.
Right. Right.
And you just divide it by pi and you get the
Right.
the diameter.
Right. So what are you asking what are you suggesting the town council we do differently in terms of our rules for trees in town?
That any trees of a certain size would be landmark trees.
Landmark trees. So you say of a certain size, you mean fairly big, right? So
Yes.
like what is it 18? Am I remembering correctly? What's
Yeah, we say 18.
18 inches around?
No, the diameter.
Diameter. 18 inches through the tree.
So
Okay.
that's like
A good
this,
sized tree.
You know,
Yeah. So you want to make it landmark. Such a tree, you want to have it called landmark, and that would be what would that mean?
and that it just can't be removed in order to make way for a driveway, for example,
okay.
or some new construction.
Is that not already what you described as the situation now, where you can come in and so right now you can do this if the tree is ill.
Yes.
That's what it is. But there's no right now no protection for a healthy tree that someone just wants to remove.
Well, there becomes an argument. So the process is someone wants to remove a tree for reasons other than it being a public danger.
Right.
'Cause I can decide that.
So
when
public
it's a
danger, you can take it out, yep.
But somebody wants a driveway or some other construction.
Right.
That issue is brought to the tree committee.
Right.
The tree committee
I'm sorry,
schedules.
the tree committee is who?
The tree committee is an appointed committee of the town.
Of the town. So how many people is that?
There can be 3 or 5 or 6.
I see. And these are
the number changes.
Okay. So the town council creates this body, and this is who. Go ahead. Yes.
Yes, the town council approves the members of the tree committee.
Right. Okay.
So in a hearing, the evidence is brought to the tree committee, and the tree committee decides remove the tree or not remove the tree.
I see.
And the decision of the tree committee can be appealed to the town council.
Okay. Okay. And so does this happen a lot, first of all?
Yeah.
It does, okay. Okay. And what's the fundamental change then that you're asking the town council to consider here?
That landmark trees would be just immediately saved by the tree committee.
Okay, so that would sort of take the discretion out of the hands of the tree committee and the town council in these cases, and at least a lot more cases.
Yes.
I see.
You would have to appeal to a higher level.
And is that because you've seen too many cases in which there's been decisions to take down trees that you thought were not warranted?
Well, there becomes an argument. And the argument that goes back and forth. If you can say simply, it's a landmark tree and it has to stay.
I see.
Then the argument against the tree is going to be much stronger.
I see. I
Okay?
see.
And there's another part of the recent ordinance that is my favorite, is that the old ordinance said nothing could be attached to the tree.
Nothing would be attached to the tree. Like
That's-
what would that
that-
mean? Like a sign or something?
That's to prevent, signs, advertising signs, your yard sale signs, political signs. You just can't go up to a town tree and hammer in.
Again, a town tree. Do you mean all trees or just a town tree?
A tree on public property.
Tree on public property. Okay, and so even like so Sally down the street is having a bake sale or a lemonade sale, and I'm talking like a grade school kid puts up staples a sign to the tree saying.
The answer is no.
The answer is no.
Don't.
Okay.
Don't do that. Or politicians.
Or politicians.
Stick the signs in the lawn.
Right. Stick them in the lawn.
But the exception is that we're starting a program called Memorial Tree Program.
Okay.
That a person in town can purchase a tree to be planted anywhere,
Okay.
public property or their own property,
Okay.
providing the spot is accessible to a machine to dig the hole.
Okay.
And on that tree,
So you're talking
it can
about a fairly big tree then to start off. If you're talking big, yes.
yeah, like a couple 2 inches.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right.
We can't do them that big. And the tree can be memorialized to a person
Okay.
and attached to that tree, like the trees in the Arnold Arboretum. So a stainless steel screw is put in or an aluminum nail,
Right.
and what's hung from that is the story of the tree, the species, maybe the date planted,
Right.
and
I see.
who or what it's memorializing.
Right. So a small sign, basically on the tree, essentially.
I'm hoping that will get people to put up the money to buy trees.
I see. Because we do see that around Deer Island, for instance. The benches all around Deer Island have a lot of that thing. That's kind of the thing you're talking about?
Yes, that's right. It's very much like the Memorial Bench program, except the trees grow by themselves.
Right.
And they don't, like benches, have to be painted.
Right. Where do we need them most? I mean, is there a particular place? I mean, again, I see them along roads in Winthrop, maybe not a lot. Is that maybe the kind of the main area you'd like to see more of them? Or what's your hope for how it would look differently after this?
My hope is that in 100 years,
Yeah.
we have a much greater tree canopy over the town than we have now.
Right.
And that can be trees anywhere,
Right.
wherever they can fit. There's a whole area along Veterans Road, for example. On both sides of there's a ditch between Veterans Road and the golf course. There could be rows of trees on both sides.
Right.
So all around the golf course, around the playing fields, high school,
Right.
there's plenty of room for more trees.
Right.
The cemeteries.
Okay.
Some of the cemeteries have some very wonderful old trees,
Right.
but we need some very wonderful young trees.
Right. Right. What about, I'm just curious, I mean, Winthrop being on the coast, I would imagine a lot of the underlayers here are sandy. Is that the case, and does that make it harder to grow trees in a town like Winthrop as opposed to somewhere inland a bit more?
Well, the problem in Winthrop is the ocean and the wind and storms.
Right. So salt water, salty
And the
waters.
salt spray.
Yeah.
So some species are not appropriate,
Right.
like white pine.
Right.
It would not do well. Pitch pines
Right.
do, and many other trees are a little more tolerant of that spray.
Right. And again, I asked you at the beginning about the diversity of our tree stock. Is there anything you could say about what to do about that? Is that sort of a critical need to get a more diverse set of trees in our town, and how would you go about that?
Okay, there's three things. There's the species diversity. If you have lots of trees of different kinds, so if there's some infestation, like the emerald ash borer,
Right.
if you don't have all ash trees, then only the ash trees are killed by the pest.
Right.
There's a beech canker infestation caused by a nematode, a little worm that gets in the leaves and migrates to the buds and kills beech trees.
Right.
So if you have all beech trees, you're vulnerable. So having a variety of species is a safety.
Right.
You know, nobody thought that there was such a thing as an elm bark beetle that would kill all the elm trees.
Right.
But there is.
Yeah.
You know, so let's be careful and plant a variety of species. The second thing is just the biomass of trees. So they're having bigger trees clean more air, bigger trees cast more shade.
Right.
They have much more of an environmental contribution than a sapling.
Right. Right. Right.
Sapling has potential,
Yeah.
but that potential is going to be spread over the next century. So some trees can live a long time.
Right. Right. Right.
And contribute for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, and the amount of coverage, that is the canopy, the actual. If you could calculate the surface area of a tree, as a tree gets bigger, the surface area, the underside of the leaves,
Right.
the top of the leaves,
Yeah.
the bark, all the undulations of the bark, there's a lot of surface.
Sure.
And on that surface, there is a lot of life, insects, fungus, there are bacteria. A tree is just loaded with life.
Right.
There's fungus underground that connects trees and feeds their roots. So trees are part of an ecosystem. Each tree is its own ecosystem, and it's connected to other trees, providing a giant ecosystem that is in the whole town.
These are mycorrhizal networks you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. So is there potential that if we don't keep that network going to a robust level, that could harm all the trees somehow, or harm other plants as well in town?
Well, some species are serviced by or in symbiosis with some species of fungus underground. That fungus will link trees of the same species.
Right.
So trees of the same species can help each other via the fungus.
Right.
So the trees produce carbohydrate in their leaves. That feeds the fungus. The fungus helps the tree absorb more nutrients, more water from the soil,
Right.
and can spread it around. So one tree can be in a good spot
Yeah.
and transfer that
Yeah, they
to other
cooperate.
trees of the same species. Not all the trees and all the time. It's wicked complicated.
Yeah. Is there something people in Winthrop should know, or anywhere else for that matter, should know about when they buy not trees but other things from a nursery and put plants in their yards? Are there certain types of plants put in the yards that could again bring unwelcome visitors in terms of bugs and diseases that maybe they should stay away from, or maybe they should other kinds that they really should think about bringing, even if they can't maybe put a tree on their yard, something they could do positively or avoid doing something negatively in terms of their purchases of plants?
Yeah, you can look all this information on websites attached to UMass Extension. There are certain trees that are invasive.
Right.
Certain trees that can't be sold in nurseries.
Right.
Or shouldn't be sold.
Right. Okay. But I mean, the nursery might sell them. It's possible you could buy that without knowing that, though. You have to watch out.
It's possible, yeah. So, you got to look it up.
I noticed you mentioned of UMass. Tom is a UMass alum, as am I, and I'm also a marathoner. I've done a marathoner. I'm just sort of wondering, from your career as a marathoner, you take a look at the long run. I take it. And is there anything, I guess, else that you might want to add for people in terms of what they should be doing from a long run perspective as they care for the tree life in this town?
Let's look at the trees in town and look at the places where there aren't any trees and see what we could put where.
Yeah.
We're going to pick the right tree for the right purpose, the right place.
Right.
Like, we don't want to put trees that will grow to be large underneath wires.
Right. Okay.
We're going to put on the other side of the street.
Yeah.
We could put trees behind people's houses, between houses, in open spaces. And let's fill those spaces with trees.
Right.
Particularly around the Miller's Field.
Right.
There's a lot of space for trees. There's a dog park there. You can surround that with trees.
Right.
Parts of the golf course, the cemeteries. So let's look at those places and see where trees can be.
Right, and you hope the memorial program will get more people in town to do this. Is there also, beyond the memorial program, any kind of aid that the town or the state, for that matter, might be available to give people to help them get going with trees?
My hope is that we can procure grants of state money to Winthrop to purchase trees or have them planted.
Yeah.
There are such grants and such programs available, and I'm investigating them.
Gotcha. Well, Tom, thank you. With us today has been Tom Derderian. Tom is the tree warden in the town of Winthrop, and Tom, we're grateful for you taking the time and explaining this to folks.
Well, thank you, Paul.